Good morning. Whether you've been with us before or this is your first time and you've just found us, we are so happy that you are here, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Sarasota. We are here to help you and support you in finding a personal relationship with the God of your understanding and discovering what you already know. My name is Lisa Lessard, and I greet you this morning with Namaste. Namaste is Sanskrit, meaning the divinity in me recognizes and honors the divinity in you. We always like to start by reading out loud and affirming our vision and our mission statements. You can see them on your screen. First, our vision: empowering spiritual growth as a loving, inclusive, worldwide community. And now our mission: we teach science of mind principles and other life-affirming spiritual truths. We explore, we learn, we grow, we connect, honoring all paths to God. We offer in-person and online weekly services, classes, workshops, affirmative prayer support, and other spiritual tools. We create opportunities for joyful social connection, community outreach and service, and we celebrate the awakening of our innate spiritual magnificence. And now is our time for prayer and meditation. And I invite you to get comfortable in your seat, place your feet firmly on the floor, take a deep, deep breath, close your eyes, and release and relax. As we listen to a song presented to us by Bob Teesdale and Kassie Coykendall, named God is Holding Me.
Held in love, I'm held in peace. God is holding me. With every breath, with every step, God is holding me. God is holding me. God is holding me. God is holding me. I'm held in love, I'm held in peace. God is holding me. With every breath, with every step, God is holding me. 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 I'm held in love, I'm held in peace. God is holding me. With every breath, with every step, God is holding me. God is holding me. God is holding me. God is holding me.
God is holding me in love and in peace. God is always holding me. I am one with the divine, so I am one with everything, the whole. With every breath I take, I feel God's love holding me. This feeling vibrates from the center of my being at the frequency of love and light and resonates with the divine. I am one with all. This is who I am, an individualized expression of God, always creating and experiencing the perfection of God's love throughout every moment of every day. With conscious love, there is no space for anything else but love. Everything contrary falls away as the frequency of love always resonates and brings forth into my daily experiences superb health, highest and best good, a loving, peaceful, prosperous world working for all, and so much more. I know these truths are not only my daily experiences, but also the daily experiences of everyone. This is who and what we are. I now release these spiritual truths with so much love and gratitude into the loving law of good to continue to manifest, express, and experience easily and effortlessly here, now, and forever, because it is so, and so it is. Our wonderful spiritual director, Reverend Karen Wolfson, is presenting a wonderful message this morning entitled The Ultimate Fear Buster. But before we hear from Reverend Karen, we're going to hear again from Bob and Kassie, who are going to present to us a song by J.D. Martin entitled Invisible Hands. Take it away, Bob and Kassie.
When a child believes he'll live his dreams, his prayers are heard, he fears no thunder. And when he falls, he safely lands, guided by invisible hands. When a mother cries, she hides her tears, says the Lord provides, but she can't help but wonder who would give her child what his heart demands. Oh, invisible hands. Lost in the darkness, we are lifted by love, whispering somebody hears. And if we dare to make that leap of faith, somehow the bridge appears. When the silent storm knocks me down, and the tide and times they pull me under, I'll stand again on these shifting sands, held by invisible hands. Oh, invisible hands. Lost in the darkness, we are lifted by love, whispering somebody hears. And if we dare to make that leap of faith, somehow the bridge appears. When a child believes he'll live his dreams, his prayers are heard, He fears no thunder, and when he falls, he safely lands, guided by invisible hands. Oh, invisible hands. Oh, invisible hands. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, oh, invisible hands. God is gonna be there, be right there with you. Oh, invisible hands. Every single day, every step along the way. Oh, invisible hands. Oh, invisible hands. Oh, invisible hands. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, guided by invisible hands.
Thank you, Kassie and Bob. Invisible hands. Invisible hands. When you're feeling uncertain and fearful, doesn't that bring a sense of comfort? It does for me. It's like the words of the chant that we sang earlier. I'm held in love. I'm held in peace. God is holding me. With every breath, with every step, God is holding me. Ernest Holmes, the architect of our teaching, articulated this so beautifully. Here's what he said. And so my faith, the faith of the little child in me, rises with expectancy. I place my human hand in the invisible hand of the all-sustaining good, and let the miracle of life and love take place. That reminds me of the message from A Course in Miracles. If you knew who walks beside you, fear would be impossible. Fear would be impossible. But I often forget that. How about you? And at those times, fear seems to be anything but impossible. It's like the person who said, I tried to drown my fears with gin, but it turned out my fears had flotation devices. You ever feel that way? Well, today's title is The Ultimate Fear Buster. Now, this month's theme, shared by many of the Centers of Spirit for Spiritual Living worldwide, has been about our inner life. And today we're sharing the title, The Ultimate Fear Buster, among many of the centers. And it turns out that is definitely an inner life practice. Now, I have a spoiler alert. Fear is not impossible. But that's not the bad news. And before you dredge up your own list of fears, along with feeling somehow so inadequate, I should know better. I shouldn't be so fearful. I need to resist and fight my fears even more intensely. Well, before you do that, stay with me, because I have some suggestions for you. But first, let's check in with each other. I'm so happy knowing you're out there. How are you doing? Let's stay in touch as 2022 unfolds, and know that I affirm for you a year of vibrant wonder. And to you, our team of financial contributors, you too are a wonder. You are an absolutely essential part of all that makes it possible for us to share our message, our caring, and our connection. We never take that for granted. Thank you. So, about fear. Yes, it can be visceral, all-consuming, and more. Well, I don't need to describe it to you. You know how it can overtake you. And I acknowledge that today there may be something daunting and overwhelming going on in your life, and as a result, you may be feeling desperately fearful. Or you may be recognizing some chronic fears sort of running in the background of your mind. Well, whatever it is, just know there's no shame in being afraid. I have fears. I hope there's no shame in being afraid. I know there's no shame in being afraid. So if you find you have a tendency to malign and criticize yourself for being fearful, well, let's rethink that. I mean, how would you respond to a frightened little child? Wouldn't you hold that child with comfort and reassurance? Of course you would. I think you get my point. Be compassionate with yourself. And then remember that even in the midst of fear, you have options. When afraid, you can choose how to respond to the fear. It's like the story of the little girl having a terrible nightmare. She was being chased by a huge, frightening monster. She ran and ran, but the monster was bearing down on her when she came to the edge of a cliff. And in utter terror, she turned around to the monster and she cried, "What do I do?" And the monster stopped and said, "Well, I don't know, little girl. This is your dream." We do have options. But when we're caught up in fear, well, maybe you feel like Charlie Brown in this in this episode with Lucy. Lucy tells him, "Now, Charlie Brown, life is like a deck chair. Some people put their deck chair at the front of the ship so they can see where they're going. And some people put their deck chair at the rear of the ship so they can see where they've been. So Charlie Brown, on the cruise ship of life, you have a choice. Which way is your deck chair facing?" And after a pause, Charlie said, "I haven't figured out how to get my deck chair unfolded yet." When feeling paralyzed by fear, we just might feel like Charlie Brown. So the question is, how will we choose to respond to the fear? I have 4 suggestions for you today. First one is face it. Just call it what it is. Simply acknowledge your fear. I have found that often that will soften the fearfulness. When my younger sister and I were kids, I was the intimidating and rather bossy, scary big sister. I think we both took that for granted. And one day, as I was doing my usual, doing that big sister thing, instead of backing down and being intimidated or afraid and letting me get away with it, she simply stood there in front of me and said, "No." Well, that caught me by surprise so much that, well, I backed off. And from then on, our relationship was changed forever in a good way. And we have laughed about that so many times. She stood up to me and called me out. She wasn't going to be afraid anymore. So try that. Look right at the fear and acknowledge it. Call it out. Now, the second suggestion is another response to fear, which is take action. Do it anyway. Several years ago, there was a great book by Susan Jeffers titled "Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway." Now that's courage. Dale Carnegie said it this way: "If you want to conquer fear, do not sit home and think about it. Go out and get busy. Inaction breeds doubt and fear, but action breeds confidence and courage." Now, the interesting thing about our fear, or our fears, is that no matter what the fear, it is a flashing light that you and I have the opportunity to expand at our growing edge. It's kind of an alert. Here's an opportunity. Like life's problems. My dad was very, very wise, and I remember when I was a very young girl, he would tell me that the goal is not to run away from problems or to have a problem-free life. He furthermore said problems are a part of life. They push you to grow, to discover, and strengthen. He was right. And the same is with fear. Fear pushes us to grow, to stretch, to strengthen, to discover, even create. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "He who is not every day conquering some fear has not learned the secret of life. Do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain. Yep, my dad trotted that one out too. When I told him I was terrified to raise my hand in class, even though I knew the answer to the question the teacher had asked. Well, after hearing him say that and his encouragement, although I was shaken like a leaf the first few times raising my hand, I found I was so empowered by discovering that he was right. And from then on, I made it my intention to take on the things that scared me. And my confidence grew. I even signed up for a special communications class in 10th grade, focusing on public speaking. The teacher was known to be the toughest one in our school. And my first speech was terrifying. But she encouraged me, and she mentored me through 10th, 11th, 12th grade, when she even had me presiding at the all-school student assemblies. Who would have thought? Louisa May Alcott expressed it this way. She said, "I'm not afraid of storms, for I am learning how to sail my ship." So, number 1, acknowledge your fear, and number 2, take action anyway. Third suggestion, taking your response to fear a step further, try to understand your fear. Now, you and I know that misunderstanding something can result in totally unnecessary fear. Well, Ernest Holmes said this. He said, "If you could see the object of your fear until you really understand it, it would no longer exert any effect on you." I've shared this with you before, but to me it is such a clear example. It's a trivial example, and yet it could apply in many situations. It's the one when I was walking over to the swimming pool in my condo complex, and I was carrying my swim bag with my towel and everything in it and over my shoulder, and all of a sudden something hit me in the back of the head, and I was terrified. I was scared. I turned around. What is it? I thought something had landed on my head, some critter. And I turned around. I couldn't see anything, and I started walking, and then it was hitting me again and hitting me again. And I was so scared. I was jumping and nervous, and what is it? And then somehow I managed to turn around and notice it was the noodle, my swimming noodle, sticking up out of my swim bag. And every time I took a step, it hit me on the back of the head. Well, once I understood what it was not only not frightening, it was laughable. Eric Vance is an award-winning science journalist, and he has written about what he calls the curious science of your brain's ability to deceive and transform. He says you might assume that your eyes and ears act like video cameras and recorders taking in the world around you, but in reality, all they're taking in is light and sound. And then they're turning them into electrical signals to your brain, which then has to construct a version of what is being seen so that it makes sense to you. And to do that, your brain has to make assumptions and take shortcuts, and, well, it sometimes misinterprets these. And this happens to be the same thing with your memories. Memory, he says, is an integrated, constructive process that's constantly refining itself, rebuilding, restructuring, and finding shortcuts. It is not frozen in time. And so as a result, even your memory can play tricks on you. Those scary memories, those things that revisit you now, it's just possible that more understanding might alleviate that, because they're not frozen in time. Fear is a feeling rooted in a thought. And here's the good news. You are the thinker having the thought. Yep. So hey, you don't have to believe everything you think, every thought you have, and you can even have a new thought or even a new perspective about your fears. And that brings me to number 4. Speaking of perspective, as author Tama Keeves writes, this isn't about swallowing a happy pill and stifling your frightened feelings. It isn't about putting on a tutu and twirling when you'd really rather wear a hazmat suit. It's about deciding where you want to put your attention. Now, in my personal experience, one example is back in the 70s, in my first months of sobriety, I remember being in a state of constant, raw fear of everything, and for no reason. And at that point, of course, I could no longer numb those fears with alcohol, so I said, "Okay, fear, you are not going to paralyze me. I'm going to get busy living my life, and you can ride along on my shoulder if you insist, but you are not the boss of me." And so the fears were there, but they receded into the background as I grew stronger in spite of them. Now, Elizabeth Gilbert has written a book called Big Magic, and she writes about it this way. She says, "I made a decision a long time ago that if I want creativity in my life, then I'll have to make a space for fear too. So I don't try to kill off my fear. I don't go to war against it. Instead, I make a space for it. In fact, I cordially invite fear to come along with me everywhere I go." Because she noticed that every time she wanted to move into something creative, there was fear right there. Anyway, so she says, "I even have a welcoming speech prepared for fear, which I deliver right before embarking on any new project or big adventure. And it goes something like this. Dearest fear, creativity and I are about to go on a road trip together. I understand you'll be joining us, and I acknowledge that you believe you have an important job to do in my life, and that you do take your job seriously. And apparently your job is to induce complete panic whenever I'm about to do anything interesting, and I may say you are superb at your job. But I will also be doing my job on this road trip, which is to work hard and stay focused. There's plenty of room in this vehicle for all of us, so make yourself at home. But understand this, creativity and I are the only ones who will be making any decisions along the way. You're allowed to have a seat, you're allowed to have a voice, but you are not allowed to have a vote. You're not allowed to touch the road maps, you're not allowed to suggest detours, you're not allowed to fiddle with the temperature. Dude, you're not even allowed to touch the radio. But above all else, my old familiar friend, you are absolutely forbidden to drive." And then we head off together, me and creativity and fear, side by side by side, advancing once more into the terrifying but marvelous terrain of adventure and unknown outcomes. And she says, "It turns out that the less I fight my fear, the less it fights back." That's readjusting your perspective in the face of fear. And now finally, there actually is an ultimate fear buster if we remember to access it. In the words of Ernest Holmes, "Don't fight your fears, see through them. There's nothing in God's world to be afraid of." Or, like the little boy observed, if you don't have faith in God, you will be very lonely because your parents can't go with you everywhere, like to camp and stuff. But God can. It's good to know God's around you when you're scared in the dark or when you get thrown into the real deep water by the big kids. And one more thing, here's something you can do, and I recommend it highly. Make an appointment with one of our spiritual practitioners. They will hear you and then do affirmative prayer with you, not praying away your fears, but helping you to see through your fears and affirming the powerful truth of you, reminding you that you are an expression of the Creator, that your very essence is divine, is infinitely greater than any fear. So in closing, take these words of Ernest Holmes with you. The quickest and most effective method for transcending fear is to get quiet and lift up the whole thought in confidence and faith to something bigger than we are, and yet as near as our very breath. It's like going from a cold, dark room into the sunshine and just sitting there, letting the rays of the sun penetrate your whole being with warmth and color until the darkness and the dampness are gone. Try it. And to top it all off, as Kassie is going to sing Janice Stanfield's song, just imagine, if I were brave. If I were brave. And you are. And so it is.
What would I do if I knew that I could not fail? If I believed, would the wind always fill up my sail? How far would I go? What could I achieve? Trusting the hero in me. If I were brave, I'd walk the razor's edge where true believers dare to tread. Never lose faith, even when losing my way. What step would I take today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What if we're all meant to do what we secretly dream? What would you ask if you knew you could have anything? Like the mighty oak sleeps in the heart of a seed, are there miracles in you and me? If I were brave, I'd walk the razor's edge where true believers dare to tread. Never lose faith, even when losing my way. What step would I take today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? If I refuse to listen to the voice of fear, would the voice of courage whisper in my ear? Maybe this is what I do. I'd be brave enough to move ahead where true believers dare to tread, and never lose faith, even when losing my way. What step will I take today? I am brave. What will I do 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 today? I am brave.
Thank you, Bob and Kassie, for that wonderful song, and Reverend Karen for such an inspirational message. It's wonderful as always. Here at the Center, we support you in knowing the power and presence of your own spiritual essence. We do this through prayer support and inspirational encouragement, virtual community and connection, and we are so looking forward to in-person community and connection again soon. It is through your generous financial support of this center that in turn allows us to support you in these various ways. There are 3 easy ways that you can send your support to the center. If you go to our website, which is www.cslsarasota.com, and click on the donate button, it then allows you to donate either via PayPal or with a credit card. You can also send a check to our address. You can also set up automatic contributions through your online banking. Now, I would love for you to please join me by placing your hand over your heart and reflecting on your gift and blessing it as you share and know this with me. My gift goes for to bless, to heal, and to prosper, and the divine flow returns it to me multiplied abundantly. Now please read with me our offering affirmation that you can see on your screen. I give thanks that I may share of my good, my love, and my support. Thank you so much for your support of this center. Are you or someone you know in need of prayer support? If so, we have some wonderful people at the center that can help you. First, go to our website, to the prayer request button, and send us your requests that way. Our 5 licensed spiritual practitioners, Kathleen Frankert, Jim Grove, Ron Frost, Nicole Leeds, and Sean Scanlon, are all available to know and affirm spiritual truths with and for you, no matter what your experience or challenge may be. They are also available for 1-hour spiritual counseling sessions, either in person, online, or by phone. These sessions enable you the opportunity to explore a deeper understanding of spiritual truth and practical application, no matter what your situation or challenge may be. To get more information about them, go to our website, and on the left-hand side, you will see the staff link. Click on that and then click on practitioners. Also on our website, you can sign up for our weekly newsletter email. And of course, always go to our Facebook page for up-and-coming new events and everything like that. I also wanted to remind you of our Spiritual Living Circle, and that meets every Wednesday, and it is hosted by Jim Grove, our own spiritual practitioner. And it is a wonderful discussion. It's a free online Zoom discussion open to everyone, and they discuss an article from a current Science of Mind magazine. And this month's article is Up to You by Ernest Holmes. So if you would like to join in on that, just send Jim an email at the link at his email address that you can see on the screen right now, and he'll send you the discussion guide, the article, and the Zoom link. Our time together always goes by so quickly. So now, as we conclude our sacred time together, let us all go forth into our week ahead, resonating with the love and light that is our true essence. And please join as we sing our closing song, Let There Be Peace on Earth. Thank you so much for being here with us, and have a wonderful week.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be with God our Creator. We us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my solace.